Hello, good afternoon, welcome to Manchester. My name's Liz Rowlinson, editor of Place in the Sun magazine and the website. We're here to talk about Spain. We did this 2 years ago. So much has changed, yet I've been interviewing buyers and movers to Spain for the last 2 years. It's very much still open for business. So we're going to talk about all aspects of buying, moving to Spain.
My name is Alex Rufford. I'm an English solicitor and Spanish abogado. My parents moved out to Spain in 1981. I grew up in Spain, came back to the UK in 92 to go to university, started practicing as a lawyer in 1999 in Exeter and returned to Spain in 2003. And I'm a partner in my law in Spain, and we act for basically British clients buying, selling and inheriting property all over Spain.
Well, I mean, last time we were here, it was before Brexit, it was before COVID, just about. You know, I mean, we should make it clear, nothing's changed about the buying process, but moving to Spain?
So basically, yeah, I mean, we were all quite concerned about the effect of Brexit on kind of moving to Spain, and you know, the buying costs are exactly the same wherever you buy. I suppose, Liz, the only real change is that now, if you want to spend more than 90 days in a 180-day period in Spain, you have to apply for a visa. So whereas before you could come out to Spain and apply for residency in Spain, now you have to apply for that visa from the UK. And there's various types of visa. So basically you've got the non-lucrative visa, which means that you move to Spain to retire, and that, you know, you can live in Spain. And that visa you apply for from the Spanish consulates here in the UK, and that process takes about 3 to 4 months. If you've got deep pockets and you can afford to buy a property of 500,000 euros plus in the name of one person, then you can apply for a golden visa, and that would allow you to work in Spain. And then we've got basically work visas, which are coming in as well. Well, we've got those as well, but that takes about 9 to 12 months to come through. And then further down the line, it's not on the legislation books yet. They're talking about a digital nomad visa. But so those are the real changes, I think.
Yeah, and we've got some staff from the Spanish consulate in Manchester coming to the stand, just so everyone knows, over there, the consulate, so that would be useful for any questions on visas.
Yeah.
Well, Alex, I mean, if people are sort of just coming to sort of begin their search, it's a great place to be. Everyone's here. They should talk to the currency people, lawyers, you know, everyone's here. What are in terms of buying, can you just explain what they should think about in terms of asking their lawyer to check, etc.?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously Spain's an enormous country. There's 17 regions. The most popular, the Costa del Sol, Costa Blanca, Murcia area, the islands. So, you know, a great country, lots of properties to go out and look for. So I'd say, first of all, you know, really concentrate on the area. Find the area that you like first, and then the property afterwards. And of course, set up your budget. What is your budget? And based on where you decide to buy in Spain, for example, down in the Costa del Sol, Andalusia generally, now the transfer tax is 7%. You go up to Murcia, that's 8%, and you get to the Costa Blanca, it's 10%, and then down in the islands and Canaries, that starts at 6.5%. So budgeting is really quite important. If you're going to buy a brand new property, you're going to pay a VAT at 10% and then stamp duty at 1.5%. So really, you know, have a think, are you going to buy resale or are you going to buy brand new? If you're buying brand new, I'd suggest having a budget allow 13-14% on top of the purchase price. And if you're buying resale, kind of 11 to 12%. And on our stand, we've got leaflets setting out these amounts. So once you've found a property, let's just say you buy a brand new property, which is going to be built in, say, 18 months' time. The key for us is that we want to see that the developer has got planning permission, so they've been granted planning permission, and then secondly, we want to see that they've got a special account set up, so the payments that you make off plan go into this special account, and that's protected by a bank guarantee. So if the developer went bust, you get your monies back. So those are the two key points for us on a brand new build. If you're buying a resale property, you've got to decide, are you going to rent it out or is it just for you? Because if you're going to rent it out, then we need, for example, what's known as a license of first occupation. And that document means that depending on the age of the property, if it was kind of built in the last 20 years, there should be that license of first occupation, and that means that the seller or the developer built the property, that was built legally, and the town hall came and inspected it and signed off and gave them that license of first occupation. If you're buying an older property, that license might not be in place, but that license is required for rental purposes. So you've got to kind of think about those things. We carry out our land searches in English and Spanish. So once you find a property, typically the agent would want you to sign a reservation contract, pay anywhere between 3 and 15,000 euros. Before you sign that, we'd like to have a look at that reservation contract. We'd review it. We'd put in the clauses there to say, for example, that it's got a license of first occupation, or that you are going to be provided with a bank guarantee if it's an off-plan property. And then we'd review that for you. We're happy, you're happy, sign that contract, make the payment, and then the kind of everything else then follows. So we carry out searches, report back to you in English, and typically the buying process is going to take between 4 weeks and 12 weeks. Of course, if you're buying off-plan, then usually you'd pay about 30% during the off-plan process, and then you pay the rest at completion. So it's exciting time.
I'll ask a question of the audience first of all. Can I have a show of hands? How many people in the audience are considering first and foremost buying in Spain right now? Quick picture, that's a lot. How many are looking to retire to Spain?
We've got a tight time frame, so I think we should open it up to questions. Anyone got any specific questions for the panel? Great opportunity.
Sorry.
Back to you.
If previously I've had a residency in Spain but let it lapse, do I have to reapply?
Any ideas, Alex?
Yes, you'd have to reapply. Yeah. But if you send it to us, let's have a look at it to see how old it is, and then we can come back to you on that. On our stand, we have got leaflets setting out the process for the non-lucrative, the steps to be taken, the non-lucrative visa. And just to give you an idea, the financial requirements for a married couple are 34,741 euros. So that's the amount that you would need in a bank account, or income from pensions or from property rentals, or savings in a bank account to show the consulate here in Manchester in order to qualify for that visa. So a family family for four, you need 48,000. Yeah.
The other confusion is it could be, and I've seen this regularly, a combination. People don't appreciate the fact it could be part savings and part income and part pension and a combination of those. So it doesn't have to be all savings. And we've had a couple recently where they've been able to do it based on the UK state pension plus a lower level of saving.
I think just get expert advice is the key there, isn't it?
While we wait for the next question, there's one of the mortgages. If you're and we talked about budget, I think it's really important to talk to an independent mortgage broker before you come out to Spain to find out how much you can borrow. So furnish them with all your financial information and get an idea of how much you can borrow, and then how much you could buy a property for, what your budget is before you come out to Spain.
Right, there's a lady there.
You were talking about the visa before you can go and have residence in Spain. Does that mean to say that if you want to buy a property now, you would have to wait up to 9 months before you could go and live in it?
No, that's not the case. So you can buy a property. You can buy a property now, and that can be used as a holiday home, and you can spend 90 days out of 180 days in Spain at the moment. If you then chose to live to Spain, so you chose to move to Spain, then you've got to apply for that, depending on the visa that you want. Typically the non-lucrative visa, which means that you can't work in Spain. Okay, so you'd apply for that visa, and that takes 3 to 4 months to come through, and you require a temporary address in Spain and an address in the UK whilst you're going through that process.
But it's right to say you still have to go to the consulate in Edinburgh to apply for the visa. You have to do it in person in the UK.
There's
one
Manchester,
here in
Edinburgh and
Manchester,
London.
and Edinburgh, London, and there's some people, again, go to the stand over there and get some there on the stand.
Hi, if you already have a property in Tenerife and you're looking to sell your holiday home and buy a permanent home, should you sell first, put the money in the bank? How long can you have a bank account over there before you have to use that money to buy another property? And is it better if one has a European passport and the other has a non-lucrative visa, or you do it as a spouse with a European passport?
Okay, there's a few questions there, but let's just, the first one, you can sell your property, and as a non-resident in Spain, if you've made a gain, you're going to pay capital gains tax, and in Spain that rate is 19%. So you can sell the property, and the buyer's lawyer will retain 3% of the sales price and pay that to the Spanish tax office, and then you've got 3 months to submit your capital gain, and then you pay 19% overall, and the 3% comes off that 19%, okay? So you can leave that money then in your bank account for as long as you want. That's not a problem. But you've raised a really good point here, because we're talking to a couple over here about moving to Spain, and they've got, they're married, and the spouse has got an Irish passport. So what they can do is they can move to Spain, they can prepare all the documents up front. It takes about 4 to 5 weeks, I'd say, to prepare the documents in order to submit them for the residency application. But you prepare the documents, come over to Spain, we submit the application for the European passport holder. That typically will come back in 3 to 4 weeks, and then we can apply for residency for the British passport holder. So the British passport holder can piggyback off the EU passport holder's residency application.
We've actually seen a surge in marriages. I've had 3 or 4 clients who weren't married, but one held a European passport, and they got married, so they could get residency.
I know you should also make a separate will for your Spanish property, shouldn't you? Because inheritance laws are different.
Yeah. So basically, yeah. Again, coming back to the 17 regions, each region has different personal allowances for inheritance tax. And in Spain, if you are married and you leave it to your spouse, they may or may not pay tax. But if you left it to a friend or an unmarried partner, they would definitely pay tax. So just to give you an idea, in Andalusia, if you left, there's an allowance, a personal allowance of up to €1 million. So your spouse or children, direct heirs, could inherit property or properties up to €1 million. You go up to the Costa Blanca, that's a Valencian region, and each direct heir only has an allowance of €100,000. So also, one of the things we do a lot of is, if you are planning not to move to Spain, but you want the holiday home, and you've got children over the age of 18, we can look at ownership options so that the property is actually bought in their names and you retain a life interest. So that it's not something for everyone, but that's an option to consider. But they would need NIEs, bank accounts, etc. But yeah, those of you who aren't just looking for a holiday home and may be concerned about inheritance tax, buying with children over the age of 18 is an option. When you apply for residency, because your wife is slightly older than you, she can apply for what's known as Form S1. So that would entitle her. So you apply for that. You apply for that form from the NHS department in Newcastle, and they send that form out, and that would entitle her to healthcare in Spain. And as a spouse, you can again piggyback onto that application. So you both receive healthcare in Spain via the NHS route. Anyone who's not retired and moving out to Spain, they would require private medical insurance.
That saves quite a lot of money, because I'm interviewing all these people in their mid-50s who then have to get the private healthcare. So even at the beginning, they don't have to get the health.
No. So anyone who's of retirement age and is entitled to apply for that Form F1, apply for it before you come out to Spain. And obviously, if you've got a spouse, ask for them to be added as a beneficiary to that form.
Hi, I'm looking at buying a holiday home, and I understand the taxes involved when buying it, but in terms of ongoing taxes once I've bought it, I didn't fully understand. I'm not intending to rent it out, but is it right that you still have to pay taxes if you are going to?
But actually, you've raised an interesting point, because so you pay that non-residence income tax the year after purchase. But if you did rent it out, and this is one of the consequences of Brexit, whereas before British people owning property in Spain, if they rented out, they'd pay tax at 19%. on the rental income, and they've got to declare that in Spain, now that rate is 24%, and the costs of the rental aren't deductible. Okay, and Liz, just to finish on that, on the Spanish will point, definitely put in place a Spanish will once you've owned a property, because basically you can mitigate inheritance tax that I mentioned earlier, and the Spanish will is signed before a notary. We prepare them in English and Spanish. The notary holds on to the original version and gives you a first copy. So when someone dies in Spain, the beneficiaries go along to the civil registry with a death certificate, and we know where that last will was signed. So it's a really, really important document. Buy the Spanish property, but also put in place a Spanish will.
Time for a couple more questions. Anyone use this opportunity?
Two questions, please. I think you mentioned that for the golden visa, the property has to be registered in one person's name, and the other question was, I think we read somewhere that if you go for residency after the visa, you have to you're only allowed so many days outside the Schengen area within about the first 5 years. Is that right?
Yeah. So basically, you're right. If you're going for the golden visa, then property or properties over the value of 500,000 euros, mortgage-free, have to be registered in the name of one person only. So, for example, this week we acted for clients who bought in Javier. They bought for 800,000 euros. We put 300,000 euros in the name of one of the spouses, and 500,000 euros in the name of the other. And now we're applying for a golden visa for them. And the golden visa, you can actually apply for that from Spain. So, and it's very good to do that because two reasons. One, it costs a lot less to apply for the golden visa in Spain than it does in the UK. And secondly, if you apply for the golden visa here, the visa is issued for a period of 1 year. Whereas if you apply for it in Spain, it's issued for 2 years. Okay? So that was quite important. What was the other question? A Schengen area. So outside the Schengen area, you're allowed once you've got that visa, 90 days. You're allowed 90 days in the whole year to travel outside of Spain.
And with the golden visa, you can work, can't you, as well? That's okay. There's I think one final question up the back.
Hi, I'm just wondering if there's a price premium for the properties you can rent in comparison to where you can't rent a property out.
Not at all. First occupancy licence is on most properties, and most properties you can physically rent. There's certain developments that say that the community of owners have decided against rentals. However, they are being challenged legally because whether you can be told what to do or not to do. But the majority of properties, if you said to us, we're coming over to view properties and our intention is to rent it, we would make sure everything we showed you was possibility of rental. And most properties can.
There are some properties that are forced to rental. There are touristica, they call them properties, where specifically a condition is you rent that property for so many weeks a year. But also remember, there's no such thing as leasehold in Spain. Every property, apartment, villa, whatever, is freehold. The concept of leasehold doesn't exist. So you do actually own a bit of the land.
But again, it's very regional, isn't it? Like in Mallorca, you can't get licenses, so sometimes you might pay more for a villa that has got a license. So it's really per region, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's very specific. So, as Mark said, if you are looking to rent a property, let the agent know that you're looking for rental properties, because depending on the region, for example, Andalusia, 4 or 5 years ago, they introduced a regional tourist authority. So in order to be able to rent it out for touristic rentals, you need to register authority. Same up in the Costa Blanca area. In the Canaries, it needs a touristic license. And then basically then rural areas, probably a little bit easier to rent. But yeah, certainly let your agent know about that. And just remember, you've got to pay tax in Spain on all that rental income.
Yeah, you do your tax return even if you don't rent it out. Any other sort of other admin? Do you get an accountant in Spain? Is it a gestor?
So yeah, no, I mean typically, so the non-residence income tax, we help our clients do that. If they're renting them out, we help them with those quarterly returns in the UK and in Spain. So just remember though, so you're renting in Spain, you're generating income in Spain. You pay tax in Spain on that, 24%, and you've got to also declare that in the UK. Okay. So there's a double tax treaty between Spain and the UK, so you're not going to pay that tax twice. That 24% will come off any tax that you're due to pay in the UK, but you've got to submit both returns. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, I think we've run out of time, but do stay around to come and talk to the panel on their stands. Talk to the currency people, use all the expertise here. And we've got another seminar on at 12:30 on Spain. But Mark, where are you?
We're just located at the back here. Come and talk to us. All the guys there live in Spain and have lived in Spain 15 years plus, so can talk to you about all aspects of different areas.
Alex, you've got this very useful paperwork.
Yeah, so the My Law in Spain stand is F13. Come and sign up to our newsletter, and you can take our leaflets. We've got budgeting for buying a Spanish property, and we've got details on the process of moving to Spain and the non-lucrative visas.
And